Hello everybody, my name is Mithril Zenith and welcome back to Mordor Depths of Dejenol Tips and Tricks. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about party organization. How should you set up your party for maximum efficiency, especially when you have a 4-player party, 4-character party. It can get a little bit difficult to try and keep everyone at the same experience rate, especially when everyone's different levels, when everyone has different skills, different classes and races. How do you organize things best? First of all, for money organization, you can deposit or withdraw from separate accounts. You can keep everyone's money separately. If you press this All button, then the character selected will deposit their money, but everyone else will still have money on them. If you press Pool and Deposit, everyone's money will go to the selected character. So I can click this. Suddenly I have 2 more million gold. If you select Party Deposit, then everyone will deposit their money into their own accounts, which is what I normally do, which is why everyone has a decent split of money, except for Smee the Devious, who has double the money of everyone else. I don't know why. Be careful, because if you press Party Pool and Deposit, everyone's money, not only they're holding, but everyone's gold, will be collected into that one character's account. Really nice if you really need to total up your gold for a big purchase, but I'd try and stay away from that. Now, in the dungeon, if you want to set up your party easier, well, if you want to switch to your different characters, I should say that, press the N key. That's N as in Nog, Numenog, Namana. Man, all these N things have M's in them. Whatever. But yeah, the N key will switch between party members. Now, up here, your resistances will switch between characters. Your listed buffers will switch, but the name won't switch until you click onto a different tab, and your item list will not switch until you click on it again. But that's a very quick way of switching things if you want to cast different buffers. If you want to just move your party members, you can drag and drop them. Pretty easy. Organizing your party. Okay, so first of all, to make dungeon exploration and fighting faster, you will want to, most of the time, select the last person in your party, unless you specifically want to cast a spell with the leader of your party, because if the last person in your party is selected, everyone else's fighting will go by without text displays, so it's just much faster. Also, the character you have selected will determine the roles that monsters use. So for example, biggest thing, if a monster has a stealing skill, it will roll against the thieving skill of your selected character. That means you should probably have your thief selected if you don't want to lose all your gold. Now, speaking of thieves, my thief is in the back, for a couple reasons. First of all, if I have him selected all the time, so he's in the back, so I'm speeding through combat. I have my thief selected, so I'm not getting stolen from. But thirdly, and possibly most importantly, you get experience when you successfully pick a lock. Pick a trap on a chest, not a lock. So if you pick a lot of traps successfully, disarm those traps, your thief is getting experience outside of combat, and sometimes this can be worth a couple thousand experience for lower level chests. So, your thief will naturally be gaining experience faster than the rest of your party if you're opening a lot of treasure chests. So naturally, you want the thief at the back, so he doesn't take all the fighting experience and the treasure experience. Now for the rest of the party, you're generally going to want to move them about a little bit, but you want to keep your best fighters in the back normally, because they're going to be dealing the most damage, which is how experience is calculated. The more damage you deal, the more experience you get. So if you have someone like a giant warrior, a lot of people do, it's really popular, really easy, just smash thing, giant warrior, seeker. You're going to want to have him close to the back, because he's going to be dealing a lot of damage, leveling up at a pretty fast rate. So keep him to the back to let other people get more experience. Very important to note, keep your healer in the front. Healers take the most experience by far of any class to level up, and so they're going to need to fight the most things, so they are going to need to be in the front so they get the first hit. So if a monster takes one hit to kill, your healer can kill them. This also works really well if you're doing things like lake grinding, okay, using leprosy. Your healer's in the front, so they're getting all the experience. That's a wonderful thing. It's a great way to power level your healers. I'll probably talk a bit more about that in a later video. As far as who's in the middle, doesn't really matter. You will want to shift your mage to the front whenever there's a monster you deliberately want to capture. That way you don't risk the rest of your party killing it. If you have companions, I don't think that really matters where they are, but the companions will attack on the turn of the character they're owned to. So if your companions are held by your person in the front, they're gonna attack as well on that person's turn. I believe you do get experience for companion damage, but it's less? I'm not 100% sure on that, though. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for party organization. Outside of that, the only other note that I have is easy casting of resistances, which is what I do. I mean, everyone does it differently. What I do is you can either have some on buffers, or you can just do C casting. So you press the C key, type in enough of the spell so that it's not ambiguous. So normally if it's a resistance, you do C resist and then the first letter. So P is ambiguous because poison and paralysis, so normally resist par. You cast resist paralysis. And then you can press enter, C, enter, first name of your character. This is another important thing. I can't believe I've forgotten this. Make all your party members have different letters in their names. Trust me. This is very important because that way all you have to do is press a single letter and it'll cast it on that party. But if you have multiple people with the same letter, you have to type multiple letters, and that can take a lot of time. It doesn't take very much, but it can take enough so that when you're desperately trying to cure poison on everyone before they die, you might want to make sure that you're not accidentally casting on the wrong person. So everyone having different first letters in their names makes this very easy. So C casting is an easy, quick way, as long as you don't do what I did and just mess it up. In which case you just have to retype it. That's an easy way to cast all your resistances. Another way is if you have them on a buffer, like I do, you can just hit the buffer, hit the person you're casting on, hit the buffer, person you're casting on, buffer, person you're casting on. Easy. That's pretty much the fastest way that I've seen to do that. If anyone has a better way, I mean, you can do it that way. This is just the easiest way. And then a tip that you can do if you want, something that it takes a bit more time, so you might not need to use it for all your dungeon runs, but especially if you're going deep, you leave this as a mental note. After you cast your resistances, you can have your sorcerer leave your party. And then you exit, load up your sorcerer, Hello there.
Hello there.
And then just have them go up the stairs, replenish, and okay, first of all, be sure that that character isn't also loading with a party, because that will ruin the purpose of it. The purpose is everyone who stays in the dungeon, even after you exit, will keep all their resistances, all the spells cast on them. But the person going up to town can then recharge their spell points, and then they'll come down and all they have to do is cast all their resistances on themselves. It's a neat trick. Again, it's not super useful all the time, but if you're doing deep dungeon runs, keep that in mind. It's pretty helpful. Anyway, I'm going to assemble my party. One last thing to note about parties in Mordor is something that I talked about in one of my other videos, the tips about the first level, is that if you have, first of all, let me actually do the right thing and cast all my resistances and organize my party correctly. If you have your party hit a set points teleporter, everyone will stay in the party. For example, this teleporter will take me to the far left. Everyone stays together. If you have your party hit a randomized teleporter, a teleporter that takes to a random place in the level, your party will split up. And then you have to worry about getting every individual back. So you can either use the seer and pay exorbitant amounts of money to look for them, or you just run one character, take them back, run another character, take them back, run another character, take them back, and so on and so forth. Important notes. Oh, he didn't go very far from the teleporter at all. What was I gonna say? Yeah, an important note. Oh wait, you are in town. It's Owen who is not in town. An important note, if you hit a trap, this is something I should have talked about before. Some traps, like fire traps, explosive traps, poison traps, and disease spores traps, will affect every member of your party. Some traps, like fate traps, yeah, pretty much the rest of the traps will only affect the person who sets them off. So, teleporter traps, blackout traps, fate traps will only affect the person who fails to disarm them, while explosive traps, fire traps, poison traps, disease spores traps will affect everyone in the party. So, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. When going over pits while levitating, everyone has the same, 1 in 20 chance to fall into the pits, but it's rolled for everyone separately. So, if you fall into a pit, if you step over a pit, sure, everyone should be fine. But at that time, Halt fell into the pit. That time, no one's fallen into the pit. Smee fell into the pit, It's random. So, even if you're levitating, try not to go over pits and chutes if you don't want to. Now, if someone falls into a chute, they're going to take the damage, and they're going to be separated, but you will have the option to follow them. The rest of your party won't take damage from the chute, but you will still end up at where that chute leads. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? There was something, but I don't remember what it was. Pits, taking damage, your party. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember the last thing I was going to talk about. Yeah, so it must not have been that important. Teleporters. Let's see. So, things we talked about. We talked about bank management. We talked about organizing your parties so to maximize it, to even out experience gain. We've talked about where you want different specific members of your party. We talked about keeping the back member selected most of the time. We've talked about casting resistances and going back to town. We've talked about teleporters. We talked about that's something I was going to talk about, that each different member of your party will roll their perception on detecting things, like detecting a pit ahead, detecting an extinguished square, giving their opinion on what square they're on, but generally it will go with the highest roll of the party, so not everyone at once will be shouting. Though it feels like that sometimes. If a party member gets hit for a large amount of damage in a single blow, or if a party member is near critical, you'll have a text display. If a party member is near critical, you'll also have a voice command. It's like, yeah, that just is loud and annoying and will go off like every 5 seconds. Keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I don't think there's too much else. Good characters can't align with evil characters, so neutral characters can align with either, though not with a good and an evil person in the same party, because that breaks the first rule. Yeah, pretty simple. Yeah, I don't think there was anything else. Chutes, pits, teleporters. I swear there was something I'm forgetting, but I can't think of what it was. Yeah, if you hit a blackout trap, only the thief will be... Yeah, I talked about traps. Drowning, thieving. I feel like there's a greater chance that the party leader, the person in the front, will be the one attacked. They seem to take the most damage overall, but individually it doesn't seem to make a huge difference all the time. They don't deal more damage directly, although they deal their damage first, so generally they'll level up faster. Yeah. Oh, one other last thing I haven't mentioned, this options button. You can set different party members to do different things. If you want them to always be casting a spell from a buffer every time you get into a fight, you can do that. If you just want them to defend, you can do that. If you have them as no defaults, I don't know what that actually does. But, I mean, it's an option? Anyway. Yep, that's been this episode of Party Tips and Tricks. Thanks for everyone for watching. I've been Mythful Zenith, and I hope to see you again.